inform our community about their vision for the future of Humboldt Parkway.
There's a lot of things happening, tons of things that are moving, especially around the Kensington Expressway and the process. Community members are paying attention, are raising questions, and are refusing to shut out the decisions. They are refusing to be shut out of decisions that are impacting their neighborhoods and our communities.
That's right, and we've been clear from day one. We want solutions that promote health, reconnect communities, and follow the law, especially the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And thanks to strong organizing, we have real momentum.
Now let's welcome our guests today, two people who have been absolutely critical in this fight for justice. First, we have Nathan Feist.
Yes.
Okay, good, I said it right. Who's a dedicated member of the Eastside Parkways Coalition and a paralegal in the law office of Stephanie Adams, one of the two law firms that represented the coalition and more than 60 individual residents in a lawsuit that successfully sent the Kensington Expressway project back to the drawing board. Nathan has been instrumental in advancing the legal strategy that has ensured that our community's rights are not ignored.
We're grateful to have you here, Nathan. And joining him is Valerie Huang, the co-secretary of the Eastside Parkways Coalition and co-founder of the Western New York Youth Climate Council, or WNYYCC. Valerie and WNYYCC made history as a youth-led group that sued the Department of Transportation for violating the CLCPA, that's the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, in the proposed Kensington Expressway Tunnel project. Their courage and clarity have reshaped the statewide conversation.
Thank you. Wow.
Valerie, thank you for being with us today, and for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Nathan, let's start with you. For people who may not have followed the legal process closely, can you explain the lawsuit achieved and why it matters to the East Side right now?
Mm-hmm. So the lawsuit I worked on was based on a state law called SEQR, which stands for the State Environmental Quality and Review Act. And that's a process that all major land use projects have to follow to ensure that there is no significant impact on the community, or if there is, it requires that impact to be mitigated, or basically that means the impacts have to be addressed in some way that reduces the impact, makes it acceptable. And the state did not do this. They ignored the significant impacts. And we brought the lawsuit to require the state to perform a thorough environmental study on those impacts, which includes the consideration of alternatives to the project, such as the one the Eastside Parkways advocates, which is full restoration of the Humboldt Parkway.
Awesome. And Valerie, your work through Western New York Youth Climate Council was groundbreaking. What motivated young people to take legal action, and what do you want adults, and well, you are an adult, but what do you want people, what do you want folks in generations that came before you to understand about the stakes of this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did start organizing when I was 16. So if you remember me from then, you're not wrong. I am a young adult now. I'm 22. I think one thing that a lot of youth organizers eventually come to the realization of is that a lot of government organizations and politicians will not move on these important issues unless we take illegal action. So this is really the push that we believe we have to make. This is the kind of action that our community needs, even though it's not necessarily the first push that we would want to do. We would always want to collaborate with our representatives as peacefully as possible without extra action like a lawsuit. I think something that a lot of youth from the YCC and beyond would like for adults to understand that climate change and environmental justice issues really are the biggest issue of our time because it involves everybody and it impacts everybody. And laws like the CLCPA are absolutely vital to ensuring that we actually create progress on these issues. The CLCPA was a 2019 law, an absolutely landmark law, not just for climate, but for climate justice specifically, especially because of their disadvantaged communities protections, right? It's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So what's really special about the CLCPA is that it specifically outlines 35% of the population and 35% of the census tracts in New York State to understand which populations are more vulnerable and need to be prioritized when it comes to the way we allocate our public resources, right? So for reference, that's 35% of the population, but on the east side specifically, 100% of census tracts are designated as disadvantaged communities.
Wow.
Right, that is
That's
a lot. That's as
significant.
high as
Yeah.
it gets, right? And that means that when the CLCPA says that we need to prioritize investments to reduce pollution, both for climate change and for public health reasons, in disadvantaged communities especially, that means that communities like the East Side are number one in how we consider our most justice-forward investments. And that's something I think adults and youth need to really prioritize here and understand how high the stakes are, both when it comes to climate change and public health-related pollution.
Yeah, I think that even when we think about our policymakers and how they approach the CLCPA is not a recommendation. It is the law.
Right.
Am I right about that?
Absolutely, yeah. And I know they try to play with these concepts of, oh, well, there is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act scoping plan versus the law. Well, guess what? Maybe the scoping plan wasn't initially a part of the law, but actually just this past November in a lawsuit that included local organizations like PUSH and the Citizen Action of New York, they won this lawsuit where this judge from an Albany court very specifically said, hey, New York State, you passed this law. You have to actually incorporate the scoping plan into how you manage laws going forward, which should have been no-brainer to begin with, but, it's been doubled down on, so absolutely, it is a law to follow the CLCPA.
Valerie, what you just shared with us for me, it's eye-opening and mouth-dropping. The fact that 100% of the census tracts on the east side have been identified, designated as areas that require this law to be, it's already developed, but implemented. Mm-hmm. And how plans for the east side or plans that affect the east side, like the Kensington 33, are often not set side by side and said, okay, this is the law, and how do we make projects abide by this law that's going to help 100% of the census tracts on the east side of Buffalo. It's not just census tracts, it's people, it's families, absolutely, it's children, it's our senior adults. That was so profound what you just said, profound and sad at the same time.
I mean, it even makes me think about why it is that we have to legislate equity, morality, and justice. We have to make it a law because our community has been overlooked and, disinvested from for so long that, it has to, and even when there is legislation, we still can't seem to get it right. And we have been saying this whole time, we just want a full EIS done. We just want real community input. We just want you to do it. We just want you to do it the way that your law says it should be done, Department of Transportation. But that's water under the bridge. Here we are now because of your hard work, your advocacy. And so what legal implications specifically, Nathan, can you tell us about that, as it relates to the seeker, the CLCPA, and how we move forward with this new opportunity to engage with the Department of Transportation? What should people be on the lookout for?
So fortunately, a new state law recently went into effect. It was called the Cumulative Impacts Law. It was adopted by the legislature and signed by the governor in late 2022, and it requires a process called environmental justice siting. That refers to you have to look at the site of where a project is planned, and if it's in a disadvantaged community, you have to. It basically adds additional protections. You have to reduce pollution that would, compound the effect of pollution that already burdens that community, such as requiring electrification instead of fossil fuel generation for the project. And this act amends SECRA, the law that our lawsuit was based on. So now that the state is required to do the environmental review process over, they'll have to comply with this new law, Environmental Justice Siting Act, and that will, require them to consider the disproportionate impacts on the community.
So the requirements now are even more strict, or should be.
That's right. Yeah, this law just went into effect, I think December 30th, 2024.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, so let's talk about what happens next. What are the obligations now for DOT, and how do we ensure that they actually include the community voices this time? Either one of you can answer that.
Yeah, something I just want to add on is that in the CLCPA and the scoping plan, they also speak specifically to addressing environmental racism and past harms, and that they need to prioritize addressing said past harms, and that's something I'd also really like to see be incorporated into this new starting from the beginning process in the EIS. So public comments have not officially opened for the Kensington related project as far as I'm aware, but you are technically still allowed to submit comments to the Department of Transportation if you'd like. That's something that is really important to make sure that they know people really do care about this issue, and to understand that the community does really want to put community health first. And to be very specific about our asks. And this is something you can continuously put comments into. It's not a one and done issue. Maybe you think of something new. Maybe you just want to reiterate the points you've already put in. Maybe you want to contribute your story about how this expressway and the projects around this expressway and Humboldt Parkway really do affect you. Going forward, that is super crucial. And in the process of the EIS, they are required to make certain steps to ensure that community participation is focused. And given that we did win lawsuits that involve putting CLCPA at the center, you can make a lot of comments with respect to the requirements of the CLCPA, and that is something that needs to be considered very seriously. And as you guys know, ESP is really pushing to make sure we have thorough studies done around this issue, and that is information that we can use to hold DOT to real standards of a quality environmental impact statement. If you guys want to chime in on that?
Yeah, speaking of studies, we have to pay for them. So now is a good segue into if you want to support this work. I mean, obviously we had legal challenges, but now the work begins to make sure that we are having a transparent and inclusive process that centers justice and equity and puts the folks who have survived these last few decades of devastation at the very center of these conversations. So we do want to have some health studies done, and that requires money. We have a commitment from a local foundation to match donations up to $100,000. And if you find it in your heart to support this work, to make sure that we can drive forward a plan that is going to prioritize the health and safety of our community, then please visit eastsideparkwayscoalition.org and find the link to donate.
Yes. We are using Zephy on our platform, and so you are able to donate whatever you like. There's nothing that's too small. We are in this fight to make sure that this process involves you, the community stakeholders. So I want to go back to what Valerie said, because Valerie mentioned that you can go on the DOT's website to make your comments. And Valerie, can you tell us, the website where people can go and put their comments on?
So I believe currently you would have to email them directly because formally the comment period has not opened yet. But when it does, they should have a portal online, I believe. It is common practice to have that. But this is something that they would have to file and eventually show to the public, whether you submit this through a formal website portal or through email, as far as I'm aware. Is that right, Nate?
That sounds right.
All right. So when it opens up, we will definitely be sharing the website that you can also go to submit your comments.
Yes, commenting in the Facebook comments section doesn't count. The Department of Transportation is not looking there for your thoughts. We love the engagement, and if you want to give us a call, then call in number 716-837-1112. But make sure you put them on Facebook too.
It's not that it doesn't count on Facebook, but
Right.
it really counts double time on the DOT's website.
On the DOT's website, exactly.
Oh, we got a caller. Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, how y'all? I just wanted to call in, listening to the show. Valerie and Nathan bringing it forward. I love it. This is Jim Anderson. I just wanted to add to the part where we're kind of talking about what do we do now or add bites. I want to say we got to get more people involved. And we got to get stronger voices coming from our state representatives so we clear on where they stand. In many ways, they should be leading the fight on the ground. These organizations that we have that are doing climate justice work are doing a noble and really a great job breaking through the walls that kind of keep people ignorant. But I think one of the things, too, would be to do a you mentioned that in order to make comment, we got to wait till they're open. We need to figure out a way we could do collective grouping comments from individuals with all the information that they would need that they would have to give on the website so that we can ensure we deliver and it gets through in just a different tactic. Because sometimes they don't respond, and many times people won't go through with it, so we need to kind of pre-organize them for the fight. Thank you. That's all I want to share.
Thank you, Uncle Jim.
You got it, dear. Love you all.
Thank you. I love that idea. And so we, I'm going to say we're going to LLC it at our next Eastside Parkways Coalition meeting, and we're going to maybe you can visit us and come over and help us organize. I know you know a lot of people in Buffalo. Your voice is significant. We'd love to have you come and help us organize for that effort.
And that's an invitation for everyone. I think that, we are used to working in silos in Buffalo, and, I'm feeling extra clear-eyed and hopeful this morning. I think that the listener should view that as an invitation. All are welcome to join us in this fight, and only good things can come out of us working together. So even if maybe you weren't supporters of Eastside Parkways Coalition or Full Restoration in the past, I heard that the key to a successful marriage is a bad memory, and we will forget that you were wrong, and you are more than welcome to come and join us in this fight.
And just for reference, our meetings are first and third Thursdays of every month at 5:45 p.m. You can learn more about those locations online. We usually meet at St. Philip's Episcopal Church and Delvin Grider Community Center alternating weeks.
That's right. So, Jim brought up a little bit about state representation, our state representatives, and even federal ones sort of being mum on the situation. And we tend to do a lot of kicking the can or passing the buck. Nathan, what are some local implications, or why should our local elected officials be more engaged in this and not just saying, well, it's a transportation project, it's a federal thing, or it's a state thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, important question. So for similar projects in other cities like Rochester and Albany, the city took the lead. They became the lead agent in the environmental review process. And Since that, this issue of restoring the Humboldt Parkway became an issue in the mayoral race, we had candidates advocating for things like the city becoming the lead agent. And the winner of that mayoral election, Mayor-elect Sean Ryan, was one of those candidates. And so under the Ryan administration, the city will be able to take the lead in the environmental review for the project.
That sounds very encouraging. Oh, we have a caller.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning to Candace, India, Valerie, and Nathan. This is Bobby, Humboldt Parkway. I just wanted to give a shout out to ESP Coalition for their dedication and commitment to the full restoration of Humboldt Parkway. There's lyrics entitled to a song, it's a gospel song entitled, "Don't Wait Till the Battle is Over, Shout Now," because you know in the end you're going to win. We're going to win. So maybe you wonder if I'm bringing God into this, that if he's working towards this full restoration for us, why doesn't he just perform a miracle? Well, he's performing miracles right now in this process, but he's using you, ESP, to accomplish this goal. Now, I listen to talk radio on WBEN regularly, and one of the topics yesterday was the need to revitalize downtown Buffalo. They said we don't need to cover, the Kensington. So there's a lot of other options or ideas that people have for that $1 billion or however much money it is for the restoration of the Kensington Expressway. And, sure enough, maybe downtown Buffalo needs to be revitalized. But right now, this life and death situation with the 33 is optimal.
That's right.
Shout out again to all of you.
We can dream big. We don't have to settle for one or the other. Why can't we have revitalization of downtown and restoration of Humboldt Parkway? Right? Like, we don't have to forget about the people who live on the east side because, we want our economic engine to be in central downtown. Like, there's economics on the east side as well. Thank you so much, Ms. Bobby, for calling.
Thank you, Ms. Bobby. Good afternoon, caller.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Pat, and I don't call in on your show very often because you let me be here, but I did. I know I only got a minute, but I want to thank y'all for being dedicated and consistent with what you're doing, and think not, and well doing, and for y'all strength and your words. See, I live on Persian, but still at the end of the day, I've been listening to this whole thing, and I thank you. You one of my sheroes anyway. What's the girl name?
India Walton.
India, yeah. That senior mama called me India. But I listen to her and I love her energy, and she's very powerful. I don't say that about too many people. In her conversation, if somebody would listen. She could have been the mayor. She could have been the controller. But you know what? They're not going to put her in because she's going to fight them. And she's not going to be bought out. They ain't going to put nobody in nothing that's going to fight them. But God bless y'all, the whole coalition, and y'all keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pat. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I love my community, but you know what? The words of encouragement matter, right? Like, in the same way we have people on WBEN talking about what we do not deserve, and they're tired of hearing about the east side, and they're tired of everything going to the east side. We also need people who are like supporting the work and saying good job, because there's enough negativity going around. So I always just appreciate the positivity and the encouragement, because we try and keep this centered on love and hope and joy, and I hope that shines through to our listeners.
Yes. Someone brought up a really good scenario there about downtown Buffalo. And it didn't die by itself, just like the east side didn't die by itself.
Talk about it.
It's politics, it's legislation or their lack thereof, and it's money. You know, so when you understand the dynamics, you know, of why things happen in Buffalo, oftentimes those 3 or 4 things are at the bottom of it. You know, when was the last time that downtown was healthy? Was probably the last time that the East Side was healthy. You know, we know that people living on the East Side contribute largely to commerce.
And you know, if you talk to folks who remember, you know, they'll say that cars kill Main Street, right? And now, like, we're saying, oh well, the cars are we can't get rid of the cars. We're gonna save the 33 because we have to prioritize vehicular capacity. When we know that that's not true. Thriving communities are ones that are walkable, that are pedestrian friendly, you know, that have curb cuts for people with strollers and people in wheelchairs and people with mobility challenges and all of these things that we deserve to. So with that, it looks like it's just about time to wrap, and I'll hand it over to you, Candace, to finish us up.
All right. Well, you've been listening to our segment today. And again, as we continue this movement, as we continue empowering and sharing what you as stakeholders can do in this community, we just ask you, and we need your help. We need your help by showing up, but also financially. So if you could please go to our website, because we have lots of studies that we need to pay for. We would greatly appreciate it. Until next week,
Peace.
signing off. Peace, love, and joy.